Developing news today for our province's auto sector. More than 1,000 workers will be out of a job. General Motors announcing it will be cutting its third shift at its Oshawa plant as of Monday. Good afternoon. The decision comes as GM shifts jobs to the United States. The union speaking out today, calling it devastating.
Premier Doug Ford also addressing the news today, saying he's very disappointed, noting the province has a plan to support the impacted workers. CTV's Beth Macdonell joins us live now from Oshawa with more. Beth.
Michelle, hundreds of General Motors employees have received the news workers dread. This layoff was announced last year, but starting Monday, the Oshawa plant will go from 3 shifts of production to 2 shifts of production. General Motors says this layoff is happening while preparations continue for the next generation of full-sized pickups, saying in a statement to CTV News Toronto, approximately 500 employees will be placed on layoff when the plant returns to 2 shifts of production, and GM has worked closely with Unifor to support impacted employees through this transition with comprehensive separation packages, retirement support, and other benefits. We thank and recognize the employees impacted for their contributions. Unifor, the union that represents workers, says it was awarded the 3rd shift in 2020 with the Silverado truck starting in 2021 to pick up extra demand. It says in the past, 3rd shifts had lasted up to a decade, but that's not happening this time. This shift is an overnight shift from 10:30 at night to 6:30 in the morning. Unifor says this layoff also affects hundreds of other members who are part of the supply chain but work for other companies inside the Oshawa plants.
I'm feeling very bad, losing a job. It's not easy to get a job, especially this GM. They pay very well, and it's not easy to get another job that will be paying you that kind of money.
I think we're all upset. We launched this truck in 2021. We hit every metric General Motors wanted to with productivity and safety and quality. Our members took these jobs thinking that they had finally a good job with a good collective bargaining agreement. And a few short years later, because of things that are out of our control under the CUSMA trade negotiations that are happening right now, we're losing our 3rd shift.
We have a plan. We're going to make sure that they have opportunities, the defense sector, life science sector, other areas. And we'll be there for them 24/7. So it's very disappointing. But this goes back to our point that we have to move quicker and faster and make sure that the federal government comes in to support not only these workers, but the overall auto sector.
Premier Ford's message to the Prime Minister is that the auto sector needs to be more competitive, that the electric vehicle mandate needs to be dropped so the auto sector can be more competitive. But here in Oshawa, this is not a happy day for workers. Reporting live, I'm Beth Macdonell. Michelle and Natalie, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Beth. Still to come this noon hour, it is the final day of meetings between provincial leaders in this country. We'll tell you what's on the agenda and what officials hope to accomplish after 2 days of talks.
Turning to another story out of Oshawa, Durham police are investigating after a lawyer claimed she was violently assaulted by officers at the city's courthouse last week. In a statement issued by her own counsel, defense lawyer Sudine Riley says uniformed officers challenged her presence in an interview room where she was catching up on work after finishing a trial. She says officers then slammed her head into a desk, dragged her out in handcuffs, and hauled her to the courthouse's basement cells. Riley's lawyer describes her as a petite black woman who wears a headscarf, which was allegedly ripped off. She also says she was left bleeding and swollen. Durham police say they're looking into what happened and they're treating the allegations seriously. Canada's Criminal Lawyers Association says it would be inappropriate for the force to investigate its own officers.
Tributes are pouring in online for a Waterloo woman who died when her vehicle plunged off the expressway in Kitchener in the 2nd crash of that nature during the same morning. A GoFundMe in memory of the victim has raised nearly $40,000, but questions remain over whether something could have been done to prevent the death. A taxi driver survived the first early morning crash, but just over 2 hours later, a 38-year-old woman was killed in a similar incident. OPP say the road was closed for an investigation after the first crash and reopened after driving lanes were clear of snow. An investigation into the fatal crash is ongoing. More news in a moment, but first, here's a live look down at the city this afternoon. Lots of skaters on Nathan Phillips Square. It is very cold. but it is beautifully sunny outside. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. Jess.
Well, if you're on the sunny side of the rink, maybe not so bad. And being active when you're outside in cold weather like this does help. But we are looking at an extremely cold day. We are under a cold warning here in the city of Toronto, across the GTA and across most of central and southern Ontario. The wind chill values tonight in that -30 range for both areas, close to -40 for areas further east. So today, the daytime high around -10, but it will feel significantly colder than that. That polar vortex, that big plume of cold air still sitting over us. We don't really see relief until we get in towards the beginning of next week. And even then, it's just near the seasonal mark. No real active weather to speak of as we head throughout the day today. So a nice break for a lot of folks, especially along those eastern shorelines of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. Through the islands, through Pearson, between -11, -13 this afternoon. It gets cold and it stays cold. And tonight, wind chill values into that -30 range. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. We will talk about the return to more seasonal weather. But in the meantime, it stays frigid. All those details in a minute. Right now, it's back over to Natalie and Michelle.
Thank you, Jess. Well, the big cleanup continues after Sunday's record-setting snowfall in our city. Sidewalks still a major area of concern as residents struggle to get around.
The city says it's responding to more than 3,000 calls a day requesting snow clearing. This as the temperature is set to plummet in the city tonight with a cold warning now in effect. Let's go live to CTV Sean Leathong, who's been following this ongoing story for us. Sean.
Well, Michelle and Natalie, the snow's not going anywhere unless we move it, and that's where we are right now. We're south on Kipling near Lakeshore, where Toronto snow removal has been working throughout the morning. Now, the area that you see behind me, the good news is that was covered in snow just a couple hours ago. So, like we've been seeing in the last couple of days throughout the city, they're picking up the snow, they're putting it in trucks, and they're getting it out of here. But it is a huge job, as you say, because there are those calls coming into 311 for people trying to get the snow out of their laneways, out of their driveways, off their streets, so they can just start functioning. We know that it can be difficult to get around some of the tighter streets in the city where there's maybe street parking usually, but right now that area is all being taken up by massive snow drifts and massive snow piles that have come over the last few days. But the city is working forward. We talked to some people of how they're dealing with all this snow and how they're dealing with the cold that is coming and only getting worse.
Lots of layers. Lots of layers.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to keep your spirits up. You really do, because it's not the nicest weather, and it does get cold. And believe it or not, it just gets windier as the day goes by.
Yeah, it's been really difficult. It's like cold, and it started a lot earlier, it seemed, this year. So big snows, lots of cold. We're trying to do a rink in the back, but it hasn't really turned out because of the way the weather has been. So yeah, this freeze and thaw has been a little bit difficult, but the cold is definitely not my favorite thing.
So right now where I'm standing, it's about -12 degrees, but we know tonight it's going to get much worse. It's going to go now into the -20s, with Jess talking about those wind chill factors going into the -30s. So we do know that the city has opened another warming center in the area in Toronto to help people get out of the cold. Anybody else is being urged just stay inside tonight because it's going to be extremely cold. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Michelle, send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. And after this past weekend's massive snowfall, attention has returned to the Ontario Science Centre and concerns with its roof that forced it to close abruptly back in the summer of 2024.
But advocates for the centre say it appears the roof is still intact underneath all of that snow, and they are again questioning why it was closed. CTV's Allison Hurst joins us live with the latest. Allison.
Natalie, you can see there's still a little bit of snow left on the roof there behind me. There were some crews up there this morning getting some of that off, and a bunch of it has blown off. But as advocates point out, the roof is still there and it's still standing. The building closed to the public about 1.5 years ago when government officials cited an engineering report on the state of the building's roof. Officials said at the time they did not want to jeopardize anyone's safety with the Science Centre's roof panels at risk of collapse. Advocates don't buy that reasoning, saying nowhere in the engineering reports did it say to close the building, adding that the roof has weathered record-setting rainstorms in 2024 and Sunday's record-breaking snowfall, and yet it still stands.
18 months ago, Doug Ford and King Surma shut down the Science Centre without warning, saying that the roof was at imminent collapse. At the time, those claims were rejected by engineers, architects, and later even the Auditor General. And now on Sunday and now on Sunday, we know that those claims have been rejected by Mother Nature as well. On Sunday, we had the worst single-day snowfall in our city's history, and the Ontario Science Centre is standing strong. It just speaks to the fact that it was an entirely false justification for shutting down the Science Centre, and that there's really no reason that it cannot and shouldn't be restored to its former glory, and done so as soon as possible.
The city should be able to get in the building and ascertain for itself whether there are any structural problems, whether the building's in a state of good repair, that it's being heated properly, that drains are cleared, just the normal things that any responsible tenant would do. But moving forward, we don't really see Doug Ford changing his mind about his attraction at Ontario Place. But we have this marvelous heritage-designated architectural marvel here that should be of use to this community of Flemington Park.
A spokesperson for Infrastructure Ontario says in part the snow load on the roof was deemed unsafe to remove, consistent with their 2024 structural risk warning. Following an additional review, limited snow removal can now proceed in targeted areas under strict engineering controls. The new Science Centre that is supposed to open at Ontario Place was originally scheduled to open in 2028. That date, though, has been pushed back to 2029. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Allison. The union representing some 12,000 transit workers say they share the public's frustration with the city's problem-plagued LRT transit lines.
But on the job, they say their members are bearing the brunt of the public's ire, and they want Metrolinx to step up and do something about it. CTV's John Musselman reports.
The new Eglinton Crosstown LRT hasn't even opened yet, but the union representing transit workers who will operate it claims the provincial agency that built it needs to be more transparent with the public. Marvin Elford says workers are trying to avoid a repeat of the problems that plagued the recently opened Finch Line 6 LRT.
The public is very frustrated. When you had Line 6 opening up, and by design they had it operating at a much lower speed than people anticipated, they're taking the frustrations on the operator, who has no authority in order to increase the speed faster than what Metrolinx has outlined.
The Finch LRT has experienced service disruptions and customers complain it's too slow. The union claims transit workers get unfairly blamed.
That kind of lack of communication and lack of transparency had our members suffer by design. These are problems that Metrolinx and the TTC has to own up to and make sure it doesn't happen in the future.
A spokesperson with Metrolinx says the new Line 5 Eglinton LRT has had a successful simulation and there are no outstanding safety issues. Quote, we look forward to the TTC confirming an opening date, at which point ATU 113 will begin operating this critical transportation link that will bring nearly 125,000 people within walking distance of affordable transit. Sources confirmed to CTV News that the Eglinton LRT is expected to open on February the 8th. It will be operated by the TTC. Quote, the TTC continues to work with Metrolinx on getting the line open as soon as possible, with safe operations for customers and employees being paramount. Construction on the Eglinton Crosstown began in 2011. It will run from Mount Dennis in the west, that's near Black Creek Drive, all the way to Kennedy Station on the east side.
John Musselman, CTV News.
And take a look at this shocking footage shared by Metrolinx showing a person jumping on a moving GO train heading to Oshawa. The transit agency says this happened last Wednesday night. The person can be seen leaping from an accessibility platform onto the train as it was leaving the station. Metrolinx CEO Michael Lindsay says the operator suddenly hit the brakes after noticing the person, but nobody on the train was injured. He adds, missing a train is never worth putting yourself or others at risk.
The federal Conservatives kick off their annual convention today, with Pierre Poilievre facing a leadership review tomorrow. For more on this, we're joined by CTV's Jeremy Charron, who joins us now. Jeremy, set the stage for us. What's your sense of what the next 2 days will bring?
Yeah, Michelle, it's going to be a busy few days, an exciting few days for Conservative supporters here. They're certainly thrilled to be here. Everything gets underway a little bit later this afternoon. And as you've touched on, you know, the taking center stage and the focus really of this whole convention will be leader Pierre Poilievre's leadership review. The first time a Conservative leader faces a leadership review since Stephen Harper in 2005. That came after he lost the 2004 election. He got about 84% support. This all coming as a result of the Conservative rules, the Constitution, that means after losing a federal election that the party must hold a leadership review. It is widely expected Pierre Poilievre is going to you know, survive this review. In fact, MPs making their way into caucus yesterday on Parliament Hill were keen to put forward that they believe he will have you know, significant support in this vote. And so this is expected to be almost an opportunity for Pierre Poilievre to kind of reshape what the party is looking to focus on moving forward, and an opportunity for them to try, they believe, to put the past election behind them and move on and set themselves up for the next one. Now, when you look at why it's expected Pierre Poilievre is going to do so well, it's because of how the convention is designed. Voting on his leadership will be delegates from across the country that have been selected to represent their ridings and Conservative members from those ridings across the country. And among those people, Pierre Poilievre is very, very popular. They like what he's doing. They like the direction the party is going in. And so that is why it's expected he will do well in this leadership review. The question that remains, and what I'll be watching a little bit more closely tomorrow especially, is Pierre Poilievre's speech. He'll deliver a speech to the crowd ahead of that vote. And as the party looks to try and position itself for the next federal election, whenever that may be, if they are to succeed and try and form government or do better than they did in the last election, they're going to have to go and get more votes. They're going to have to try and widen that tent. It's something we've heard a lot of experts talk about, Conservative strategists talk about. And so I'll be curious to see whether or not Pierre Poilievre in that speech tries to really speak to, you know, the base of supporters that are here, the people that already like him, or if he delivers a message that is going to be geared more towards attracting new voters, which is what the party really is going to need if they are to do well in the next election. So a lot happening here at this convention. It's also not just about Pierre Poilievre and his leadership review. Saturday, there'll be all kinds of policy discussions. The party's really looking to identify their priorities when it comes to policies as they move ahead. So a lot of kind of work at the grassroots level here in terms of the direction the party's looking to go in the near kind of immediate future.
Jeremy, what are your thoughts? Could this convention change how Poilievre positions himself going forward?
Yeah, I think absolutely it could. I think, you know, again, I'll be watching that speech closely to see, and it will be, you know, that speech tomorrow, I think, will be telling on the direction he is looking to take moving forward and whether or not that is a direction that kind of solidifies his party's position and where they have been, where he has taken this party, their beliefs, the policies that they have prioritized right now, or if we see a bit of a different message where he tries to attract perhaps a bit, you know, of a wider voter base, tries to broaden that tent a little bit, to bring new people into the party, attract new people into the party to try and be more successful in the next election. The big question and the big risk is, if you ask many, you know, strategists and experts on this, is if you try and widen that tent and attract new voters too much, you risk losing some of the support from that base that may not like the new direction. So there are risks always, you know, in these kinds of decisions. But, you know, I think many will be watching very closely and very carefully what Pierre Poilievre looks to deliver in that speech tomorrow. It will be very telling on, you know, where he is trying to take the party moving forward.
And we know you'll have a front row seat for all of it. CTV's Jeremy Charon live for us from Calgary. Thanks so much.
Yeah, anytime, Michelle.
A lockdown remains in place at a First Nation in northern Quebec following the fatal shooting of 2 men last night. The Cree Nation of Mistassini is located about 600 kilometers northwest of Quebec City. Police say the victims were local residents and were shot inside of a vehicle. The deaths are thought to be linked to organized crime, and there is no active shooter in the community. The First Nations chief says the lockdown would continue until law enforcement confirmed it was safe to resume normal activities.
This is the 9th anniversary of a horrific attack at a mosque in Quebec. 6 men were killed in the evening attack at the Islamic Cultural Center in Quebec City back in 2017. 19 other people were seriously injured. The lone gunman pleaded guilty to murder and attempted murder charges and was sentenced to life in prison.
The newly installed commander of the Federal Immigration Enforcement in Minneapolis says there will be changes and insists agents deployed to the city will be held to professional standards.
By and large, for decades, ICE and CBP have carried out their duties with integrity, professionalism, and compassion. That remains the expectation under President Trump, and I will, hold our agents and officers to that standard.
Tom Homan also said today that federal agents will focus on targeted operations instead of broad street sweeps, and that he would reduce the number of agents deployed to the city if he received cooperation from state and local leaders. There are currently 3,000 of them there now. The Trump administration has received increasing political pressure after 2 U.S. citizens were fatally shot by federal agents.
Taiwan's Navy conducted drills today as part of heightened combat readiness. An anti-landing operation simulated a hostile amphibious invasion. The exercise featured the use of drones, shore-based weapons, and anti-ship missiles. It was part of 3 days, consecutive days of combat readiness maneuvers by the Army, Navy, and Air Force across central and southern regions of the island. Taiwan has stepped up the frequency of its military drills in recent years as tensions with China continue to rise.
As Canadians continue to face a rising cost of living, 2 polls are offering insight into spending outlooks and habits across the country. For more on this financial forecast, we are joined by CTV's Scott Hurst. Scott, with so much concern around saving and cutting back, what are the top affordability concerns this year?
Natalie, good afternoon. Affordability overall remains a huge concern, even though we have seen inflation stabilize somewhat, but we've seen food prices consistently rising faster than many other goods and services. And we saw the government this week hone in on food costs as well, announcing changes to the GST credit. Now, in a just-released Nanos survey for CTV News, it provides a snapshot of the specific affordability concerns and where Canadians are looking to cut spending in 2026. And those food prices remain a top financial burden, with more than half of respondents saying that is the top area they're looking to cut spending this year, more than housing and more than healthcare, which are, of course, obvious other areas where Canadians are forced to spend a lot of money. It doesn't really matter if you break down the Nanos numbers by gender, age, or region. Every demographic cited food costs and grocery bills as an area where they'd like to see reduced costs and prices come down, in an area, Natalie, where they're hoping to maybe find some ways to save, because we've seen over the years that $50, $100, or $200 you have to spend at the grocery store. And of course, we can't not go to the grocery store. We just end up with fewer and fewer items.
Scott, now that we're approaching the end of January, a lot of those December credit card bills are coming due. How much are Canadians still feeling the impact of holiday spending, and what are they going to do about it?
Of course, the new year gives us a chance to maybe reset our budgets and reset our priorities and look at ways where we can spend, as we talked about in the first answer. But it looks like, and it appears, Canadians are still feeling a significant financial hangover from the holiday season. You mentioned those credit card bills starting to roll in, and now, according to a new report from financial technology company Coho, a third of Canadian holiday shoppers say, well, they went over budget late last year during the holiday season. So now in January, it means cutting back, and 2/3 of respondents say they're making at least one change to their budget to save a little money right away. And initially, the main area where Canadians are looking to cut back is eating out in January to try to save some money to start off the new year and trying to find a few extra dollars, as affordability will likely remain a top concern for the rest of this year, Natalie.
Okay, CTV's Scott Hurst, thank you.
Thanks, Natalie.
Today is the second and final day of meetings between the Prime Minister and the provincial and territorial premiers. For more on this, let's bring in CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver live in Ottawa this afternoon. Annie, this is the first meeting between Carney and the premiers this year. What are the takeaways so far, and what's your sense? Are they on the same page?
Well, at least publicly, it does seem like they're all on the same page, and all of the leaders are talking about how that's extremely important coming out of these meetings. Various leaders, including the Prime Minister, are saying that this is a Team Canada approach, that they're trying to show unity and solidarity, and that right now that's what the Canadian economy needs. You heard Doug Ford repeatedly today talking about this Team Canada approach, the need to stand together to put the needs of Canadians first. Now, who knows if that's translating behind the scenes in these private conversations. For sure, there are going to be some disagreements there. Think about the pipeline, for example, this Alberta proposed pipeline. We know that there is some opposition from the British Columbia government there. There's also some disagreements when it comes to interprovincial trade barriers, and we're also seeing some disagreement when it comes to separation. Premier Legault, who's the Quebec premier, he's on his way out. He's announced he's going to be stepping down once his party finds a new leader. And right now, the PQ is leading in the polls in Quebec. And so there are some questions today about Quebec separatism. There's also new reporting that suggests that the Alberta Prosperity Project, a group of far-right activists, have been in communication with the U.S. administration trying to secure credit in case Alberta does separate. Today, Premier Eby, the British Columbia premier, he said that that's treasonous. Doug Ford also said that people should not be going behind the back of the Canadian government and behind the backs of Canadians to try to work with the U.S. administration, a foreign power. So while everyone is talking about unity and really trying to showcase that they're all on the same side, there are definitely some undercurrents here of potential disagreement. Not a huge surprise, but I think what people were not expecting is to have so much talk about separatism here at this gathering of the premiers and the prime minister.
And there's, a big issue at hand here with CUSMA renegotiations fast approaching. How big of a role will the relationship between Canada and the U.S. play in today's meeting, do you think?
It's definitely playing a large role, and the reason I say that is because in almost every press conference, the premiers are being asked that question about the uncertainty in the Canada-U.S. relationship and what that means for their provinces or their territories. You heard Scott Moe saying he wants some clarity from the Prime Minister about what Canada needs in its trading relationship with the United States, wanting to know a bit more about where these CUSMA review negotiations stand. The Prime Minister also talked about the CUSMA review in his opening remarks, saying this is a time at this table to be able to discuss the potential new trade areas for the provinces. The Prime Minister also talking larger, not just the CUSMA review and not just the U.S., but the fact that Canada wants to sign other trade agreements, for example, with India, he highlighted, and the ASEAN countries, and that this meeting is a chance to discuss with the premiers where are the other areas for export, what types of markets can Canadian industries go to, and how do they bring in more imports without affecting the domestic industry. So trade is absolutely a huge topic here, and the U.S. president is very much looming large over this conversation of the premiers and the prime minister. It's hard not to, and again, that's why we come back to this Team Canada unity approach. The premiers and the prime minister really underscoring that this is extremely important. Many of the premiers saying that in the face of so much challenge and uncertainty with the U.S. president, that the premiers need to all be on side.
CTV's Andy Bergeron-Oliver live for us in Ottawa. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Take care. Over to Jess.
No surprise here, it is going to be cold as we head throughout the day today, and we're getting into that wind chill territory where frostbite is very possible and it can happen very quickly. Our daytime high will be feeling like minus 21, 22, so we're in that moderate range, but as we head into the evening, it will get into that high range, feeling closer to minus 31, so be careful. Throughout your afternoon, we will see a lot of sunshine out there, but again, it's not warm. Coming up, we'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. We'll talk about how long this deep freeze is sticking around and when any relief is on the way. Those details after the break.
Well, we've got the bright sunshine today, but we also have a bright yellow cold warning because as if it hasn't been cold enough, we're going back down into dangerous territory.
We were just talking about how many times we can say the word cold, and Jess has 22 synonyms for you.
I have been trying so hard. This is one of those times a year where I'm trying to describe the same thing about 100 different ways. The same issue I have when it's a beautiful, sunny, hot stretch of weather. Sure. But we are on the opposite side of the scale. It is going to be frigid today. So as you make your way out, it is blistery, it is biting, it is nipping, it is frigid. It's all those different descriptive words. But the good news is we do have sunshine out there, and the wind isn't too bad. So although it is going to be aggressively cold, we're not also dealing with really gusty winds. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers you don't pay unless they win. Lots of sunshine out there, so great if you want to get out and you're layered appropriately, but this kind of weather can be dangerous, right? You want to make sure you're covering any exposed skin, especially if you work outside, or maybe you're commuting and waiting for a bus or for a streetcar. You have to just really think about your layers as we head out over the next kind of 24 to 48 hours, because It is absolutely bone-chillingly cold. Temperature-wise, as we make our way throughout the rest of our day today, we don't get much better. Right now at -13, feeling like -23. It feels like -25 in Ottawa and feeling closer to that -30 range the further north you go. Almost everybody in central and southern Ontario covered with this cold warning for our temperatures this evening as they get into a pretty dangerous territory. Right now, we're looking at a daytime high of -10. It'll feel like -18. We should be seasonally closer to -2, -2.4 this time of year. We are nowhere near that. There is relief on the way. We just have to get through the bulk of this week or the end of this week first. Tonight, we're dropping down to -23. We should be at -10. It will feel like -31 for us. It will feel like -38 in Bancroft, and it feels like -36 for our friends through Parry Sound. So nobody escapes this cold, and that's why we are all under this extreme cold warning, this yellow warning. The wind chill values, again, kind of Toronto and west. We're looking at that wind chill value tonight between -30, -35. Colder still the further east you go. Not much in the way of any active weather, so that's some good news. We're not also contending with any significant snow. That trough that was really impacting those eastern shorelines of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay, it's at least kind of sinking its way further south for now. So we all get a bit of a break from some of that flurry activity. But now that snow is just really hard and very cold, making it really challenging to be removed. Lots of sunshine as we head into the start of our day tomorrow, some late cloud cover, but again, no active weather to contend with as we head throughout this kind of end of our work and school week and the end of January. That big pocket of cold air, though, doesn't really start to retreat until we get in towards the beginning of next week. And even then, we're not quite at seasonal, but we'll be closer than we have been for quite some time. Frigid today, the same tomorrow. Sunshine is consistent throughout, but you factor in those wind chill values overnight tonight. Again, we're into that -30 range, so be careful. Exposed skin can freeze in a matter of minutes when you're spending significant time outside, and this is also true for pets as well, so just be careful. As we head in towards your weekend, we see a slow but steady climb, but it really doesn't get back to where we should be until Monday, but even still, that is below seasonal for our daytime high, but consistent sunshine. So we got that kind of last snowstorm over the weekend. We got through it. We're still cleaning up from that, but as we head in towards the end of this week, the beginning of next week, and the beginning of February, we're now settling into a sunny but very cold stretch. But at least as we get through that first kind of full week of February, we are close-ish to seasonal. Hopefully this helps you plan. Michelle and Natalie, I'll send things back to you.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
If you have a used car to sell, you can trade it in at a dealership, but you will get a lot more for it if you try to sell it privately yourself.
But if you plan to do that, there is a new scam to be aware of that involves criminals tampering with your vehicle to make you think it has serious problems. Pat Foran explains in Consumer Alert.
I feel violated.
Mark Rafi and Carol Crawford of Paris, Ontario were selling their 2016 Hyundai Santa Fe. They listed it for $7,000 on Facebook Marketplace. Two people came at night to see the vehicle. One man wanted to inspect the trunk.
And he was looking underneath the mats and looking for the spare tire and had me completely occupied. So I was not aware of what the other person was doing, who had gone around to the car, opened up the hood.
It's believed after opening the hood, the man sprayed oil throughout the engine compartment. When the potential buyer started to go for a test drive, he stopped and backed into the driveway.
The other gentleman who was hanging around the driveway squatted down and sprayed or inserted something liquid into the tailpipe.
After a short drive, they returned, and smoke was pouring off the engine and out of the exhaust.
There's all this white smoke coming out, and the other guy who was in the driveway comes running around and says, look, he says, there's oil everywhere.
Rafi says the two men told him the engine had blown and the car was worthless.
It was like, oh my gosh, something must have blown because there's oil everywhere.
He was asking $7,000 for the SUV, but was convinced to take $1,000 just to get rid of it. The two men paid in cash, took an extra set of tires, and left. Rafi told his wife what happened. That's when they checked their security video.
We saw everything. I said, we've been scammed. I said, this is a scam.
This is a case of seller beware.
An auto fraud investigator says criminals will put oil on the engine and in the tailpipe to make the car smoke and appear to have serious mechanical problems.
They really presented a convincing story to the owner that his car has blown the engine.
Rafi is upset he was scammed out of $6,000 and that he trusted the two men.
To be taken like this, I don't know how somebody sleeps at night after doing this.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
One of Toronto's favorite foodie events is back starting tomorrow. Winterlicious allows diners to enjoy a 3-course meal at a fixed price at more than 240 local restaurants. Prices range from $20 to $55 for lunch and $25 to $75 for dinner. A list of participating restaurants can be found on the city's website.
The restaurant scene in Toronto is one of the popular attractions to Toronto. People come to Toronto, they talk about our restaurants, our cuisine scene, and they also just love the attractions that are here. You know, we've got World Cup coming up in June, and we're going to be making sure that folks know the scene here in Toronto and that they come back and visit Toronto again.
Winterlicious runs until February 12th.
Still to come, calls to release the fleece have been answered. It's exciting news for fans of the popular show Heated Rivalry. We'll explain after the break. Ooh, looks cool. On the ice, the Toronto Sceptres were on the road last night visiting the Montreal Victoire.
Big-time pressure here from Montreal. Gosling wants to shoot. In front, scores!
The Victoire went ahead 2-0 in the second and added another goal before the period ended. That was it for scoring. The Sceptres fall 3-0. They begin their Olympic break now. They don't play again until February 27th.
The excitement over Crave's hit show Heated Rivalry does not seem to be fading, and now fans' calls to release the fleece have been answered.
All in there. What's up, mother? All right, so tonight we can do the men's.
One of the main characters, Shane Hollander, wore this jacket in the show while he was playing for Team Canada in the Olympics. Since then, fans have been wondering where to get it and even making their own version. The show's production company is teaming up with Toronto-based Province of Canada, which will produce and sell the jacket.
Still to come, well, the name is a fun one to say. So-called poop pills have researchers believing they may one day shape the future of cancer therapy. We'll explain after the break. New research out of London, Ontario shows that poop is being used to help improve results for advanced cancer patients.
So-called poop pills have shown promise in the treatment of pancreatic, skin and breast cancer. Our health reporter Pauline Chan explains.
They call it fecal microbiota transplants, or FMT, also commonly known as poop pills.
It was the first time in the world anybody actually used healthy donor FMT in kidney cancer patients.
Blue capsules containing the diverse gut bacteria of healthy donors.
On average, we have to screen 43 people to get a person who passes the screen.
Saman Maleki says the gut is actually the largest immune organ in the body.
The drugs that we are giving kidney cancer patients are immunotherapy drugs. These drugs work through activating the immune system.
But there are side effects.
They can activate an immune response against the lining of our gut, and the patients can experience severe diarrhea or colitis. And sometimes that can be actually life-threatening.
Researchers at London Health Sciences combined FMT with immunotherapy for 20 patients with stage 4 kidney cancer. And they found that not only did response to the immunotherapy improve, those potentially life-threatening side effects were almost gone.
So we are dealing with a combination treatment that is safe. It can improve response, but also it can reduce toxicity and improve your quality of life as a patient.
Not only did it help kidney cancer patients, a second study out of Montreal looked at other cancers.
From the lung cancer study, we showed that the response rate to immunotherapy went from about 40% to 80%. And in melanoma, it went from about 55% to 75%.
FMT pioneer Dr. Mike Silverman says it's not just one type of gut bacteria needed, but a whole ecosystem. And they can even personalize the poop pills.
For patients who are on certain types of cancer drugs and other people who donate for people who are on different drugs. So it's personalized medicine.
And Dr. Silverman says if you're in the London area,
let us know that they might be interested in being a poop donor, because we could always use more.
More studies will be done involving earlier stage kidney cancer, as well as lung, skin, and pancreatic cancers. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Meanwhile, new research is adding support to health warnings about alcohol consumption and cancer risk. Researchers at the U.S. National Cancer Institute focused on the relationship between lifetime drinking habits and colorectal cancer. They looked at 20 years of data for more than 88,000 patients. They found Heavy drinkers with a lifetime average of 14 or more drinks per week were almost twice as likely to develop rectal cancer and 25% more likely to develop some kind of colorectal cancer. That's compared to people who average less than 1 drink per week. Months after Hurricane Melissa ravaged Jamaica, the island nation is still trying to rebuild, with damage estimates ranging between $8 and $15 billion.
CTV's Maya Johnson traveled there, discovering how Canadians are involved with that country's recovery.
Despite the devastation in the coastal community of Parody, in the hard-hit parish of St. Elizabeth, Jennifer Forbes is grateful.
Lost a lot, but I give thanks for life, you know?
When Hurricane Melissa made landfall in Jamaica as a Category 5 storm, at least 45 people were killed. Forbes could have been one of them. The storm surge sent seawater bursting into his home. With water rising to his chest, he was trapped until he was able to escape through a window.
The water went down, but the shaking of the house, I think it would collapse, as I said before, you know? So I'm glad that I survived, you know?
As for Jamaica's economic survival, tourism is key.
It accounts for a third of the economy, and it's very important to us. As the tourism industry recovers, the island recovers.
This couple from Boucherville, Quebec, has visited this Negril resort more than a dozen times. They say canceling this year's trip was out of the question.
We feel home away from home. It's our second family.
While many hotels in tourism hotspots are now fully operational, many Jamaicans living in rural areas still don't have electricity. Holland Power Services and Greystone, both private companies based in New Brunswick, are here to help.
It's a proud moment for Canada, like over 300 Canadians that are here helping rebuild the electricity system, essentially. And we're fortunate that Canada has expertise in that category.
We've never seen anything like this. This is historic. It must have been terrifying to be here when the storm came through.
As more Canadian equipment arrived at the start of January, Jamaican officials expressed their gratitude.
It is a wonderful sight to see the trucks and crews.
Jamaicans moving from despair to determination, with a helping hand from Canada after a historic hurricane. Maya Johnson, CTV News, Black River, Jamaica.
After the break, we meet up with a group of women known as the Malvern Mall Walkers. We're racking up the steps and memories for decades. What began as a hobby and a way to stay healthy for a group of mall walkers in Malvern has turned into a connection that goes far beyond the walls of the mall.
But for this group of mall walkers in Scarborough, it's now turned into a connection that really has lasted for decades. CTV's Corey Baird has their story.
Oh, baby, baby, it's 9 a.m. And this group of grandmas has burned more calories than most of us will in a week.
Look it out!
Meet the Malvern Mall Walkers. 3 times a week, they turn this food court into a fitness studio. 2 decades and counting, still pushing their limits.
Everybody's so upbeat. Everybody's happy to come out. It's just a unique group of people, and we gel.
If you want to have an improved quality of life as you age, you have to stay active. That's a no-brainer. And this group, well, they've got it figured out. But it's what they're doing outside of these sessions that speaks to a quality of a whole different kind. They've traveled together from Sault Ste. Marie to Niagara Falls and a few casinos along the way, too, supporting one another through life's highs and life's lows.
This is my eye that was done last Wednesday.
They've been to funerals, too many to count, always together in uniform, a mall walker's honor guard.
We always call each other to find out, are you okay? Do you need anything?
Time doesn't slow down, so why should they? Many here are well into their 80s, and it's no stretch to say these workouts have improved their longevity.
I'm a diabetic for 41 years, and now I'm a pre-diabetic.
And then there's Zelda Drummond.
2010, I had a stroke. I just tried to keep myself moving.
Not just trying, succeeding. Here there's no fear of failure. Showing up, that's the victory.
If you can be carefree, even for a few minutes, that's a elixir of life.
Corey Baird, CTV News, Scarborough.
So good and warmer inside the malls on a day like today.
That's how you get your steps in. You don't have to necessarily be outside.
No. Listen, between walking paths, walking through the mall, there's all different ways to get active and be healthy and safe without being outdoors, because the cold is not going anywhere, and it only gets worse as we head overnight. Not unusual for January, but also not entirely welcomed. At least we get a break from a lot of the snow, the lake effect snow machine kind of calming down as we make our way throughout the afternoon. But it is frigid out there, frosty. It is nipping. We're looking at -13, feeling like -23 right now here in the city. But we have a brilliant blue sky and lots of sunshine. Tonight, those wind chills are going to be dangerous, so just be careful as you spend any time outdoors. But look at that. I'm so excited to see -3 on Monday of next week.
We can wait. It's coming.
Yes.
And that is CTV's News at Noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and on our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Natalie Johnson. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6 o'clock.